The great hall of the Galactic Council stretched wide like an ocean of marble and light. Thousands of beings from across the galaxy sat in their assigned seats, each species keeping to their own section. The air buzzed with translator devices, working overtime as hundreds of different languages mixed together into one confused sound. Ambassador Kethvar of the Zephyrian Empire stood at the center podium. His blue skin gleamed under the bright lights and his forearms moved as he spoke. The Zephyrians were old, older than most species in the galaxy. They had seen empires rise and fall like waves on a beach. "The laws are clear," Kethvar said, his voice carrying to every corner of the hall. "They have been clear for 10,000 years. The precursors left us these rules before they disappeared into the void. We follow them because they keep the peace." He held up a crystal tablet that glowed with ancient writing. "First law, no species may claim territory that belongs to another. Second law, all disputes must be brought before this council. Third law, wars may only be fought between military forces. Fourth law, never harm the innocent. Never harm those who cannot fight back." The hall was quiet. Everyone knew these laws. They had been drilled into every child of every world since birth. Breaking them meant punishment from the entire galaxy. No species was strong enough to fight everyone else. In the far corner of the hall, almost hidden in the shadows, sat the human section. It was small, just 3 chairs. Only one was filled. Dr. Sarah Chen sat with her hands folded in her lap, listening quietly. She was a small woman with dark hair and calm eyes. Most beings in the hall forgot humans were even there. Humans were new to the galaxy. They had only joined the council 50 years ago when they figured out how to travel faster than light. Before that, they were stuck on their little blue planet in a quiet corner of space. Even now, most species thought of them as barely more than animals who had gotten lucky with their technology. The Drakthari delegation sat near the front of the hall. They were large, covered in thick scales with teeth like knives. Their red eyes scanned the room like predators looking for prey. They had built their empire by conquering weaker species and taking their worlds. The council allowed it as long as they followed the laws. Commander Vashtok of the Drakthari stood up. His voice was like rocks grinding together. "The neutral zone has been empty for too long," he said. "My people need new worlds to grow. We claim the outer rim territories for the Drakthari Empire." Murmurs filled the hall. The neutral zone was a large area of space between different empires. It had been set aside as a buffer zone to prevent wars. Some small outposts existed there, but nothing major. Most species left it alone. "The zone is neutral for a reason," said Ambassador Kethvar. "It belongs to no one." "It belongs to no one because no one has been strong enough to take it," Vashtok replied. "We are strong enough. We will make it useful." Other species began to argue. Some supported the Drakthari claim, others opposed it. The debate grew louder and louder until the hall sounded like a storm. Then Dr. Chen stood up. The hall didn't notice at first. She was so quiet, so small. But slowly the noise died down as beings realized the human was trying to speak. It was rare for humans to say anything in council sessions. "Honored council," Dr. Chen said in her soft voice. The translators carried her words to every ear. "I must respectfully disagree with the claim that the neutral zone is empty." Vashtok turned his red eyes toward her. "Speak, little human. What wisdom does your young species offer?" Dr. Chen didn't seem bothered by his mocking tone. "Humanity has 17 research stations in the Outer Rim territories. We also have 3 small colonies there. All are civilian operations." The Drakthari commander laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Research stations? Colonies? How many humans live in these places?" "The research stations have small crews, maybe 50 people each. The colonies are larger. New Terra has about 3,000 residents. New Eden has 1,500. New Hope has about 1,000. 5,000 humans total?" Vashtok's laughter grew louder. 5,000 farmers and scientists? They are nothing. They will move when we arrive, or they will be moved. Dr. Chen's calm eyes met his red ones. "They are civilians, Commander. Farmers, teachers, children, scientists. They study star formation and grow crops to feed their families. They pose no threat to anyone. Then they will have no problem leaving. They have built homes there. Some families have lived there for 20 years. Their children were born on those worlds. The hall was quiet now. Everyone watched the exchange between the small human woman and the large Drakthari warrior. Vashtok stepped closer to the human section. Your species is young, human. You do not understand how the galaxy works. The strong take what they need. The weak step aside. This is the natural order. Dr. Chen stood perfectly still. The laws are clear, Commander. The fourth law especially. What fourth law? Never harm the innocent. Ambassador Kethvar nodded slowly. The human speaks truth. Civilian populations are protected under galactic law. Vashtok's scales rippled with anger. Protected? From what? We do not make war on farmers and children. We simply claim territory that no one owns. If civilians happen to live there, they can leave or join our empire. And if they refuse? Dr. Chen asked quietly. Then they choose their fate. The words hung in the air like a threat. Several species shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The Drakthari had always walked the edge of the law, but they had never openly threatened civilians before. Dr. Chen looked around the hall. Her eyes stopped on each delegation, one by one. Honored council members, she said, humanity requests that this matter be tabled for further discussion. We need time to consult with our colonies and research stations. Granted, said Ambassador Kethvar. The council will reconvene in 6 months to hear final arguments. Vashtok's eyes burned with anger, but he could not argue with council procedure. He returned to his seat with a growl. As the session ended and beings began to file out of the hall, Dr. Chen gathered her simple notepad and pen. She had no fancy technology, no crystal tablets or holographic displays, just paper and ink, like her species had used for thousands of years. Several ambassadors approached her as she walked toward the exit. Dr. Chen, said the Altarian delegate, your colonies, they have no military protection? None, she replied. They are peaceful settlements. The Drakthari have never been stopped by words alone, warned the Centaurian ambassador. Perhaps your people should consider evacuation. Dr. Chen smiled sadly. Those worlds are their homes now. Would you abandon your home because someone threatened you? The alien ambassadors looked uncomfortable. They respected the human's courage, but they also thought she was being foolish. Humanity was new to galactic politics. They didn't understand the realities of power. As Dr. Chen walked to her small transport ship, she activated a communication device. It looked simple, like an old radio, but the signal it sent traveled faster than any other technology in the galaxy, using quantum channels that no other species had discovered. Terra Command, she said quietly into the device. This is Shepard 1. The Drakthari have made their intentions clear. They plan to move into the neutral zone. Our people are in danger. A voice crackled back through the static. Understood. Shepard 1. Orders? Dr. Chen looked back at the council building one more time. Continue the mission. Maintain the facade. Let them think we are weak and helpless, but prepare for the worst-case scenario. And if they cross the line? Dr. Chen's calm voice carried a note of steel that would have surprised the alien ambassadors. Then they will learn why Earth's children are off limits. The communication ended. Dr. Chen climbed into her ship and set course for the edge of council, space. She had reports to write and preparations to make. 6 months was not very long, and she suspected the Drakthari would not wait even that long before making their move. Behind her, the lights of the council building grew smaller and smaller, until they were just another star in the vast darkness of space. 4 months later, the Drakthari war fleet moved into the neutral zone like a pack of hungry wolves. Their ships were built for intimidation, black metal covered in spikes and weapon ports. Each vessel looked like it could crack a planet in. Half Commander Vashtok stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Blood Fang. Through the viewing screen, he could see the first human research station growing larger as they approached. It was a simple thing. just metal domes connected by walkways. It looked fragile, like something a child might build with toys. "Scan for weapons," Vashtok ordered. His tactical officer, a younger Drakthari with bright red scales, worked at his console. "No energy weapons detected, Commander. No shields, no missile launchers. I'm reading basic communication equipment and what looks like scientific instruments. Life signs? 47 humans, all showing normal biological readings. No elevated stress hormones." Vashtok found that strange. Most species panicked when a Drakthari battle fleet appeared in their sky. These humans seemed to be going about their normal business. "Open a channel," he commanded. The screen flickered and showed the inside of what looked like a laboratory. A human male with gray hair and glasses sat at a desk covered with papers and strange devices. He looked up from his work with mild curiosity, as if someone had knocked on his door. "Hello," the human said pleasantly. "I'm Dr. Marcus Webb, Director of Research Station Alpha 7. Can I help you?" Vashtok leaned forward in his command chair. "Human, I am Commander Vashtok of the Drakthari Empire. This territory now belongs to us. You have 1 hour to evacuate your station." Dr. Webb adjusted his glasses and looked thoughtful. "I'm afraid that's not possible, Commander. We're in the middle of some very important research on stellar formation. My team has been collecting data for 3 years. We can't just pack up and leave." "You can and you will," Vashtok growled. "This is not a request." "I understand your position," Dr. Webb said calmly, "but surely we can work something out. We're not bothering anyone out here. We just study stars and take measurements. We don't even have weapons." The Drakthari commander was getting angry. This was not how conquests were supposed to go. Species were meant to beg or threaten or try to negotiate. They were not supposed to act like his massive warship was just a minor inconvenience. "You have 59 minutes, Vashtok said and cut the connection. An hour later, Dr. Webb and his team were still at their stations, still working. Some were checking instruments, others were writing reports. A few were having lunch in what looked like a small cafeteria. Vashtok opened the channel again. "Your time is up, human." Dr. Webb looked up from a sandwich. "Yes, I know. Sorry about that. We discussed your offer and we've decided to stay. This is our home now. But thank you for giving us the option. This is your final warning. Leave now or face the consequences." "Commander," Dr. Webb said gently, "we're just scientists. We study stars and planets and cosmic radiation. We don't want any trouble. Can't we coexist?" Vashtok's rage finally boiled over. These weak mammals were making him look foolish in front of his crew. He could not let that stand. "Destroy the station," he ordered. His weapons officer hesitated. "Sir, they're civilians. They have no defenses." "I gave them a chance to leave. Fire." The Bloodfang's main guns opened up. Energy beams cut through the research station like a knife through paper. The metal domes cracked and split. Air rushed out into space in glittering clouds of ice crystals. In seconds, it was over. 47 humans died without firing a single shot in return. The same scene played out across the neutral zone over the next 2 weeks. The Drakthari found research stations and small outposts scattered throughout the sea region. All of them reacted the same way: calm acceptance, polite refusal to leave, and no resistance when the end came. The Drakthari war fleet finally reached the first human colony, New Terra. Unlike the research stations, this was a real settlement. Green fields stretched across the planet's surface. Small towns dotted the landscape. Children played in parks while their parents worked farms and schools and shops. New Terra had 3,000 residents, farmers, teachers, mechanics, doctors, and their families. People who had left Earth to build new lives on a distant world. Vashtok's fleet took position in orbit above the main city. This time he was contacted before he could issue demands. A human woman appeared on his screen. She had kind eyes and wore simple farming clothes. "Commander Vashtok, I'm Sarah Martinez, the elected mayor of New Terra Colony. We've been expecting you." "You know why I'm here?" "Yes, the other stations sent messages before they went silent." You want us to leave our homes? Vashtok felt a moment of something that might have been guilt, but he pushed it aside. Your research stations chose poorly. You can choose differently. Mayor Martinez was quiet for a moment. Behind her, Vashtok could see people going about their daily lives. A man was fixing a broken fence. Children were walking home from school. An old woman was watering flowers in a garden. Commander, Mayor Martinez said finally, many of our people have lived here for 20 years. Their children were born in the hospital down the street. They took their first steps in our parks. This isn't just where we live, it's who we are. Sentimental weakness, Vashtok spat. Find a new world. We tried that once. Earth became too crowded, so we came here. We cleared these fields by hand. We built these homes with our own tools. We planted these trees and watched them grow. Some of us are buried in the cemetery on the hill, grandparents who died peacefully in their beds, surrounded by family. She paused and looked directly at him through the screen. Would you abandon your ancestors' graves because someone told you to? Vashtok had no answer for that. Drakthari honored their dead above all else, but he could not show weakness. You have 24 hours, he said, and ended the connection. 24 hours later, New Terra was still there. People still worked in the fields. Children still played in the parks. The only difference was that they had gathered in the town center for some kind of meeting. Vashtok opened the channel one more time. Mayor Martinez stood before a crowd of 3,000 humans. Men, women, children, elderly people, all of them looking up at the sky with calm resignation. We're not leaving, Mayor Martinez said simply. This is our home. Then you have chosen death, Vashtok replied. We've chosen to live free rather than run in fear. If you must kill us, then do it. But we will not abandon our home. Vashtok's weapons officer looked at him with uncertainty. Sir, they're civilians, women and children. They had their chance, Vashtok said, but his voice lacked conviction. He looked at the screen again. A little human girl, maybe 6 years old, was holding her mother's hand. She looked scared but determined. An old man sat in a wheelchair, surrounded by what was probably his family. A young couple held a baby that couldn't be more than a few months old. For a moment, Vashtok wavered. Then he remembered his orders from the Drakthari High Command. The Empire needed new worlds. The humans were in the way. Fire, he whispered. Sir, fire, he roared. The Bloodfang's weapons opened up once again, but this time they were not destroying a small research station. They were obliterating an entire city. The energy beams carved through buildings and streets like a cosmic sword. The hospital where children had been born vanished in a flash of light. The school where they had learned to read became vapor and ash. The cemetery where grandparents rested was turned to glass. 3,000 innocent people died in less than 30 seconds. When it was over, New Terra was nothing but a smoking crater in the planet's surface. The farms were gone. The parks were gone. The people were gone. Vashtok's bridge was completely silent. Even his bloodthirsty crew seemed stunned by what they had just done. The tactical officer finally spoke in a whisper. Commander. The other colonies are requesting communication. Vashtok straightened in his chair and pushed down his doubts. Ignore them. Set course for New Eden. We'll finish this job and move on. But as his fleet turned toward the next human colony, Vashtok couldn't shake the image of that little girl holding her mother's hand, looking up at the sky with brave eyes. Far away, in the Galactic Council chambers, Dr. Sarah Chen sat alone in the human section. She had just finished watching the broadcast of New Terra's destruction that the Drakthari had transmitted across the galaxy as a warning to other species. Her hands were folded in her lap, just as they had been months before. Her face was calm, just as it had always been. But something cold and deadly had settled in her dark eyes. She stood up slowly and walked to the center of the Great Hall. Her voice was quiet when she spoke, but somehow it carried to every corner of the vast chamber. You broke the sacred law, she said to the empty hall. You murdered innocents, children, grandparents. People who never hurt anyone. She activated her simple communication device and spoke 4 words that would change the galaxy forever. The children are dead. Dr. Sarah Chen's small transport ship dropped out of hyperspace near Earth's moon. But as she approached her home planet, something was different. The normal traffic patterns were gone. Commercial ships that usually filled the space lanes had vanished. Even the orbital station seemed darker than usual. Earth looked the same from space: blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown continents. But Chen knew that appearances could lie. Her people had become masters of hiding the truth. She landed at what looked like a simple government building in Geneva. To most visitors, it appeared to be just another office complex where diplomats met and signed papers. But Chen knew better. She walked through security checkpoints that scanned her in ways no alien technology could detect. Elevators took her down, down, down into the heart of the mountain. The real Terra Command was 5 kilometers underground. The massive command center buzzed with activity. Hundreds of people worked at stations that glowed with holographic displays. The technology was unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Screens showed star maps with thousands of moving dots, ships, bases, weapons platforms that officially didn't exist. Admiral James Harrison stood at the center of it all. He was a tall man with gray hair and scars on his hands from old battles that the galaxy knew nothing about. When he saw Chen approaching, his weathered face grew grim. "Sarah," he said, using her first name instead of her rank. "I saw the reports from New Terra." Chen nodded. She had changed out of her simple diplomatic clothes into a black uniform marked with silver stars. Admiral Chen was very different from Dr. Chen. 3,000 civilians, Jim. Men, women, children. The Drakthari broadcasted across the galaxy like they were proud of it. "Are you sure about this?" Harrison asked quietly. "Once we activate Operation Shepherd, there's no going back. The galaxy will know what we really are." Chen looked around the command center. On one screen, she could see the locations of every human research station in the galaxy. There were hundreds of them, not 17. Each one was actually a military base disguised as a science outpost. Another screen showed colony ships that were really warships capable of destroying entire fleets. For 50 years, humanity had been playing the role of weak newcomers while secretly building the most advanced military force the galaxy had ever seen. They had studied every alien species, learned their weaknesses, developed weapons specifically designed to counter their strengths, all while pretending to be harmless farmers and scientists. "The precursors left us the laws for a reason," Chen said. "Never harm the innocent. It's the one rule that separates civilization from chaos. The Drakthari broke it. They murdered our children." She walked to the central command console and placed her hand on a scanner. The device recognized her DNA, her brain patterns, her quantum signature. A voice spoke from hidden speakers. Admiral Chen confirmed. "Operation Shepherd activation requires dual authorization. Admiral Harrison, please confirm." Harrison hesitated for just a moment. Then he placed his own hand on the scanner. Admiral Harrison confirmed. "Operation Shepherd is authorized." The command center exploded into activity. Lights changed from blue to red. Alarms chimed softly. Across the room, officers began typing rapidly at their stations. Phase 1 initiated, someone called out. "All stealth platforms coming online." "Phase 2 ready," another voice added. "Deep space monitoring stations reporting full operational status." Chen walked to a communication station. The operator, a young woman with the call sign Sparrow, looked up at her with worried eyes. "Admiral, I'm monitoring Galactic Council communications. The other species are talking about the New Terra attack. Most of them think the Drakthari went too far." "But they won't do anything about it," Chen said. "It wasn't a question." "No, ma'am." The Altarians sent a formal protest. The Zephyrians called for an investigation. But no one is mobilizing fleets or threatening sanctions. Chen wasn't surprised. The galaxy had grown comfortable with the status quo. As long as the strong only fought the strong, everyone else could pretend the laws still meant something. "Patch me through to all Shepherd stations," Chen ordered. Sparrow's fingers danced across her console. You're connected to all units, Admiral. Full encryption, quantum channels. Chen picked up a microphone that looked like it belonged in a museum. Like everything else about humanity's public face, it was designed to seem primitive and harmless. This is Shepard 1 to all stations, she said. Her voice carried to hundreds of hidden bases across the galaxy. The children are dead. New Terra colony has been destroyed by Drakthari forces. 3,000 civilians are gone, including 847 children under the age of 16. She paused, letting the words sink in. In bases disguised as research stations, listening posts hidden as trading outposts, and weapons platforms masked as mining facilities, humans stopped what they were doing and listened. For 50 years we have hidden among the stars, Chen continued. We pretended to be weak because we hoped we could live in peace. We followed the laws because we believed in them. We protected our true strength because we feared what it might do to the galaxy's balance. She looked around the command center. Every person there had family, friends, loved ones somewhere in human space. Every person there had signed up to defend not just Earth, but the idea that innocent people deserved protection. The Drakthari have shown us that some threats cannot be reasoned with. Some evils cannot be tolerated. They murdered our children. To make a point, they broke the most sacred law of galactic civilization because they thought we were too weak to stop them. Chen's voice grew harder, colder. They were wrong. She activated another control, and new information flooded the screens. Around the command center, ship positions, weapon statuses, troop deployments, the full scope of humanity's hidden military might. Operation Shepard is now active, she announced. Show them why Earth's children are off limits. Across the galaxy, things that had pretended to be harmless suddenly revealed their true nature. Research stations dropped their disguises and powered up weapon systems that could crack moons. Mining ships shed fake cargo containers to reveal warships bristling with quantum torpedoes. Trading posts activated shields that could stop supernova-level energy blasts. In the Altair system, what the aliens thought was a human agricultural station suddenly expanded like a blooming flower. Hidden sections unfolded to reveal a fortress the size of a small city, equipped with weapons that bent space and time. Near the Centauri border, a communication relay that had been providing helpful services to passing ships for decades revealed itself to be a monitoring station that had been recording and analyzing every military transmission in the sector. But the most dramatic transformation was happening in the neutral zone itself, where the Drakthari fleet was still hunting down the remaining human colonies. The 17 research stations that Commander Vashatak's forces had easily destroyed turned out to be decoys, expendable installations designed to maintain the illusion of human weakness. The real bases had been hidden in asteroids, inside hollowed-out planets, and even within the stars themselves. They began to power up. Admiral Chen opened another channel, this one broadcasting on standard Galactic Council frequencies. Her message would reach every species in known space. Citizens of the galaxy, she said, her voice now carrying the authority of her true rank. I am Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Defense Force. For 50 years, my people have lived quietly among you. We have followed your laws, respected your customs, and contributed to galactic peace. She paused, knowing that across the galaxy, alien leaders were scrambling to understand what they were hearing. Today, the Drakthari Empire broke the most sacred of those laws. They murdered innocent civilians, our civilians, in direct violation of the Precursor Code. Children died because they stood in the way of conquest. Another pause. In the background, Chen could hear the hum of massive engines coming online as humanity's true fleet prepared for war. We gave the Drakthari every chance to resolve this peacefully. They chose violence against those who could not defend themselves. This is our response. She looked directly into the camera that would carry her image to every world in the galaxy. We are not the weak species you believed us to be. We are not the primitive newcomers who stumbled onto the galactic stage 50 years ago. We are humanity, and we have been preparing for this day since we first learned we were not alone in the universe. Around her, the command center had become a symphony of controlled chaos. Officers coordinated with fleets that had been hidden for decades. Tactical displays showed battle plans that had been refined through countless simulations. Weapons that existed only in theory were being powered up for their first real test. The Drakthari wanted to see our true strength, Chen said. They will have their wish. But they will also learn why civilized beings do not make war on children. She ended the broadcast and turned to Admiral Harrison. How long until all units are in position? She asked. Harrison checked a tactical display. 6 hours for full deployment, but we can begin the operation in 2 hours with Phase 1 assets. Chen nodded. Begin Phase 1 as soon as you're ready. And Harrison? Yes? Make sure our forces understand the rules of engagement. No civilian casualties, no unnecessary destruction. We're not doing this to become. Commander Vashtok woke to the sound of alarms screaming throughout his flagship. He rolled out of his sleeping alcove and grabbed his weapon, expecting to find his ship under attack. Instead, he found something much worse. Nothing was working. Lights flickered between dim emergency power and complete darkness. The gravity generators were failing, causing loose objects to float through the corridors. Most importantly, all of his ship's weapons were dead. Not damaged, simply offline. As if someone had flipped a switch and turned them off. He stumbled onto the bridge to find his crew in chaos. Officers shouted at each other in confusion while frantically working at consoles that refused to respond properly. Report! Vashtok roared. His tactical officer looked up with fear in his red eyes. Sir, all weapon systems are non-functional. Engines are dead. We're running on emergency power only. What about the rest of the fleet? Same condition, sir. Every ship is dead in space. Vashtok felt cold dread creep up his spine. How many ships? All of them, sir. The entire war fleet. Over 300 vessels. The Drakthari commander stared at the viewing screen, which still worked on emergency power. Outside, he could see dozens of his warships drifting helplessly like broken toys. Ships that had conquered worlds and destroyed entire species now hung motionless in the void. Sir, his communications officer called out, I'm receiving a transmission. It's coming from everywhere. What do you mean, everywhere? The signal is coming from all around us, multiple sources. I can't pinpoint the origin. Put it on screen. The main display flickered and showed a human face. But this was not Dr. Sarah Chen, the quiet diplomat they had mocked in the Galactic Council. This was Admiral Chen, wearing a black uniform with silver stars. Her calm eyes had become as cold as deep space. Commander Vashtok, she said, as if she were greeting an old friend. I trust you're beginning to understand your situation. Vashtok tried to activate his own communications, but nothing worked. Somehow the humans were broadcasting directly into his systems while preventing him from responding. Your fleet has been neutralized, Admiral Chen continued. Not destroyed, neutralized. Your life support systems are functioning normally. Your crew is safe. But your ability to harm others has been removed. The display changed to show a tactical view of the entire Drakthari war fleet. Every ship was highlighted in red, indicating disabled status, but scattered around them were new contacts. Ships that hadn't been there before. Hundreds of them appearing from what looked like empty space. Stealth technology, Vashtok whispered. His tactical officer nodded grimly. Admiral Chen's voice continued. What you're seeing is humanity's true fleet. We have been watching you, studying you, preparing for this moment since the day you first threatened our people. The display zoomed in on one of the human ships. It was massive, easily, 3 times the size of Vashtok's flagship. Its hull seemed to shimmer and bend light around it, making it hard to look at directly. Weapon ports covered its surface like the eyes of some ancient predator. Our technology is approximately 400 years ahead of anything else in the galaxy, Admiral Chen said. We developed it in secret while pretending to be primitive newcomers. We could have revealed ourselves at any time. We could have conquered the galaxy decades ago. But we chose peace instead. More human ships appeared on the screen. They came, in all sizes, from small fighters that moved like liquid quicksilver to massive dreadnoughts that looked like they could ram planets out of orbit. All of them had been invisible until now, hiding behind technology that made them undetectable to any known sensors. "You forced our hand, Commander," Admiral Chen said. "When you murdered the civilians at New Terra, you broke the most sacred law of galactic civilization. You killed our children." The display changed again, showing footage from New Terra before its destruction. Happy families working in fields, children playing in parks. The small cemetery where grandparents rested, under simple stone markers. "Those people never hurt anyone," Admiral Chen said. "They grew food, taught school, studied the stars, and raised their families in peace. You murdered them because you thought we were too weak to stop you." Vashatok finally found his voice. He shouted at the screen, "You cannot intimidate the Drakthari Empire. We are warriors. We do not fear death." Admiral Chen's cold eyes seemed to look right through him. "I'm not offering you death, Commander. Death would be mercy. I'm offering you something much worse, the chance to live with what you've done." The tactical display expanded to show not just the disabled Drakthari fleet, but their entire empire. Hundreds of worlds scattered across dozens of star systems, and surrounding each world were more human ships, previously invisible, now revealing themselves. "Your entire military is disabled," Admiral Chen said. "Every warship, every orbital platform, every military base. It happened simultaneously across your empire in the space of 30 seconds. Your soldiers are unharmed, but they can no longer threaten anyone." Vashtok stared at the display in disbelief. The Drakthari Empire controlled over 200 worlds, with billions of people. The idea that anyone could neutralize their entire military in half a minute was impossible. "How?" he whispered. "Quantum manipulation technology," Admiral Chen replied, apparently hearing his question despite his disabled communications. "We can alter the quantum state of any electronic system from a distance. Your computers think they're working normally, but they can't actually control anything important. Weapons, engines, shields, all offline." She paused, letting him absorb the implications. "But your life support systems work perfectly. Your food replicators function normally. Your medical facilities are operational. We're not monsters, Commander. We don't make war on civilians, even Drakthari civilians." The display changed once more, showing individual Drakthari worlds. On each planet, daily life continued normally. People went to work, children attended school, families shared meals. But the military bases were dark and quiet. "Your people are safe," Admiral Chen said. "Your empire still exists. Your culture, your history, your way of life, all preserved. We have taken only one thing from you, your ability to hurt others." Vashtok felt rage building in his chest. "You dare lecture me about hurting others? You're invaders, conquerors." "Are we?" Admiral Chen asked calmly. "Look around you, Commander. Your crew is alive and unharmed. Your ship is intact. We could have vaporized your entire fleet without warning, but we chose not to. Even now, we're making sure your people have everything they need to survive." The screen split to show multiple scenes from across the Drakthari Empire. Human ships were delivering medical supplies to planets with shortages. Food shipments arrived at colonies that depended on imports. Even replacement parts for civilian equipment were being provided. "We're not here to conquer you," Admiral Chen said. "We're here to stop you from conquering others." There's a difference. For the first time in his life, Vashatok felt helpless. The Drakthari had built their entire society around strength and conquest. They respected only power, and they had just encountered power beyond their comprehension. "What do you want?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. Admiral Chen's expression softened slightly. "We want you to understand something, Commander. The galaxy doesn't have to run on fear and violence. There's another way, the way the precursors intended when they left us the laws." The display showed images from dozens of different worlds. Humans working alongside aliens of every species. Research stations where different cultures shared knowledge. Trade posts where goods and ideas flowed freely. Children of different species, playing together in schools that taught tolerance instead of hatred. "This is what we've been building while you were conquering," Admiral Chen said. "A galaxy where strength protects the weak instead of exploiting them. Where differences are celebrated instead of feared. where children can grow up without wondering if today will be the day the warships come. Vashatok stared at the images. They showed a galaxy he had never imagined, one where his own people might be welcomed instead of feared. The choice is yours, Admiral Chen continued. You can spend the rest of your life raging against your powerlessness, or you can learn to use your strength for something better than conquest. The transmission began to fade, but Admiral Chen's voice remained clear. Your weapons will remain offline for 1 year. During that time, human observers will be stationed throughout your empire to ensure the safety of all civilian populations, including your own. After 1 year, we will return limited defensive capabilities to your military. But if you ever again threaten innocent life... The screen went dark, leaving Vashtok alone with the implications of her unfinished threat. Around him, his crew waited for orders. But what orders could he give? Their weapons were gone. Their ability to threaten others was gone. For the first time in Drakthari history, they would have to find another way to relate to the galaxy. Vashtok looked out at the human ships surrounding his fleet. They hung in space like silent guardians, neither threatening nor retreating, just watching. In the distance, he could see what looked like rescue ships approaching the disabled Drakthari vessels. But as they drew closer, he realized they weren't rescue ships. They were mobile workshops bringing repair crews and supplies to help with non-military systems. 3 weeks after the Drakthari Empire fell silent, the Galactic Council met in emergency session. The Great Hall buzzed with nervous energy as representatives from every major species tried to understand what had happened. Ambassador Kethvar of the Zephyrians called for order, but his usual calm demeanor was nowhere to be seen. His forearms gestured frantically as he spoke. We have confirmed reports from 17 different sectors, he announced. The entire Drakthari military has been neutralized. Not destroyed, not conquered, simply switched off like a machine. Murmurs filled the hall. The Altarian delegate stood up, her silver skin shimmering with anxiety. Our deep space monitors recorded massive energy signatures throughout Drakthari space, but we cannot identify the source. It's as if the attacks came from empty space. Because they did, said a familiar voice. Every head in the hall turned toward the human section, but instead of Dr. Sarah Chen, a different human stood at the podium. This one wore a formal military uniform covered in ribbons and decorations. He was an older man with gray hair and the bearing of someone who had seen many battles. I am Admiral James Harrison of the Terran Defense Force, he announced. I am here to explain what happened to the Drakthari Empire and what it means for the rest of the galaxy. The hall fell completely silent. No one had ever heard of the Terran Defense Force. Admiral Harrison activated a holographic display that showed a map of known space. For 50 years, humanity has maintained the fiction that we were a young, primitive species struggling to find our place among the stars. This was a carefully constructed lie. The map changed, showing hundreds of new human installations scattered throughout the galaxy. Bases that had been invisible, ships that had never been detected, weapons platforms hidden inside asteroids and gas giants. The truth is that humanity has been preparing for galactic warfare since our first contact with alien civilization. We studied every species, learned your strengths and weaknesses, developed countermeasures for your technologies. We built a military force capable of engaging the entire galaxy simultaneously. The Centaurian ambassador, a being that looked like a crystalline tree, spoke in a voice like wind chimes. Why? Why hide such capability? Because we hoped we would never need it, Harrison replied. Humanity joined the galactic community with one goal: to learn if peaceful coexistence was possible. We followed your laws, contributed to your science, and tried to prove that different species could work together. The display changed again, showing footage from destroyed human settlements, the research stations that had been wiped out, the crater that had once been New Terra Colony. The Drakthari showed us that some threats cannot be reasoned with, Harrison continued. They murdered our civilians, our children, to make a political point. They broke the most sacred law of galactic civilization because they thought we were too weak to stop them. He gestured, and the display showed the current state of the Drakthari Empire. Worlds where daily life continued normally, but military installations sat dark and powerless. So we stopped them, Harrison said simply. We removed their ability to harm others while leaving their civilian population completely unharmed. Not one non-combatant was injured in our operation. The Drakthari representative, a replacement for the missing commander Vashtok, struggled to his feet. His scales were dull with shame and defeat. How? He asked. How did you neutralize an entire empire without firing a shot? Harrison smiled, grimly. Quantum manipulation technology. We can alter the quantum state of any electronic system from vast distances. Your computers still function normally for life support, communication, and civilian needs. But weapons, engines, and military systems simply won't work. The implications hit the assembled delegates like a physical blow. If humans could disable the Drakthari military so easily, they could do the same to anyone else. The Altarian delegate voiced what everyone was thinking. Are we all prisoners now? Are you here to demand our surrender? No, Harrison said, and his voice carried absolute conviction. We are not conquerors. We are guardians. The display changed one more time, showing a new image, the official seal, of something called the Galactic Protection Service. Effective immediately, humanity is establishing a new organization, Harrison announced. The GPS will have one mission, to enforce the precursor laws throughout known space. Any species that threatens civilian populations will face immediate intervention. He looked around the hall, meeting the eyes of delegates from dozens of different worlds. This is not negotiable, he said. For too long the strong have preyed upon the weak while everyone else looked the other way. The massacre at New Terra was the last innocent blood that will be shed on our watch. Ambassador Kethvar found his voice. And who gave humanity the right to make such decisions? What makes you qualified to judge the rest of us? Harrison's expression darkened. The same thing that qualified the precursors when they established the laws in the first place, the power to enforce them. The difference is that we actually will. The hall erupted in angry voices. Some delegates shouted about sovereignty and independence. Others demanded to know how many more human weapons were hidden throughout their territories. A few simply sat, in stunned silence, trying to process the complete upheaval of everything they thought they knew about galactic politics. Harrison waited for the noise to die down before continuing. I understand your concerns, he said. No one likes having their independence threatened. But look around this hall and ask yourselves, when was the last time the Council actually prevented a war? When did you last stop a massacre or protect a helpless species? The delegates fell silent because they all knew the answer. The Council had become a forum for debate while atrocities happened across the galaxy. The laws exist for a reason, Harrison said. Innocent life is sacred. Civilian populations must be protected. Those who cannot defend themselves deserve to live without fear. These aren't human values. They're universal principles that every civilized species claims to support. He gestured toward the Drakthari representative. Yet, when one of your own members systematically murdered 3,000 civilians, what did you do? You sent formal protests, you called for investigations, you scheduled meetings to discuss the situation. His voice grew harder. Our children died while you debated. The hall was quiet now. Several delegates looked uncomfortable because they knew he was right. Harrison's tone softened slightly. Humanity doesn't want to rule the galaxy. We want to protect it. We want children to grow up safely, regardless of what species they belong to. We want scientists to pursue knowledge without fear of being murdered for standing in someone's way. We want farmers to tend their crops and teachers to educate students and artists to create beauty. The display showed images from across human space, but not just human worlds. Mixed communities where humans worked alongside dozens of different species. Research projects where human and alien scientists collaborated. Schools where human children played with young Zephyrians, Altarians, and even Drakthari. This is what we're fighting for, Harrison said. Not conquest, not domination, just the simple right of innocent people to live their lives in peace. He stepped back from the podium and activated a communication device. "Admiral Chen, please join us." Dr. Sarah Chen walked into the hall, but she was no longer the quiet diplomat who had sat alone in the corner. She wore the same military uniform as Harrison, with the same silver stars marking her rank, but her expression remained as calm as it had always been. "Hello again," she said to the assembled delegates. Many of them had forgotten she even existed. "I want you all to know that despite what has happened, humanity still believes in the ideals that brought us to this council 50 years ago." She walked to the center of the hall just as she had on the day the Drakthari announced their expansion plans. "We still want peace," she said. "We still want cooperation. We still want to be part of a galactic community where different species work together for the common good. The only thing that has changed is that we will no longer stand by while innocents suffer." Admiral Chen looked directly at each delegation in turn. "The Galactic Protection Service will have representatives on every major world," she announced. "Most of the time, you won't even know they're there. They're not occupiers or governors. They're observers, making sure that the laws we all claim to follow are actually being followed." She paused and smiled slightly. "Think of them as the galaxy's conscience." The Drakthari representative stood up again. "And what of my people? Are we to remain prisoners forever? Your military capabilities will be gradually restored over the next 5 years," Admiral Chen replied, "but only defensive systems, and only under GPS supervision. If your people can prove they have learned to use their strength to protect rather than conquer, they will eventually regain full autonomy." She looked around the hall one more time. "That offer extends to everyone. The GPS is not permanent if it becomes unnecessary. The day that every species in this hall genuinely commits to protecting innocent life, we will gladly return to our quiet corner of space and go back to growing crops and studying stars." Admiral Harrison stepped forward. "But until that day comes, we will be